The recruitment. The neon-drenched streets of New Shanghai buzzed with the usual cacophony of hover traffic and cybernetic street vendors, but Captain Lyra Chen paid them no mind. Her cybernetic eye, a souvenir from her last deployment with Earth's Special Forces, scanned the classified job boards projected on the side of a towering skyscraper. Most of the listings were the usual fare: bodyguard work for paranoid CEOs, data theft for rival corporations, the odd assassination contract. But one posting stood out, its pulsing red border marking it as a top priority assignment. Wanted: fearless individuals for the most dangerous job in the galaxy. Deathworlders preferred. Generous compensation. Inquire at Starbase Omega. Lyra's organic eye narrowed. In the 5 years since humanity had burst onto the galactic stage, they'd gained a reputation as the crazy daredevils of the cosmos. Their homeworld, Earth, was classified as a Class 12 death world, a planet so inhospitable that most alien species couldn't survive there for more than a few minutes. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were practically indestructible adrenaline junkies. She tapped the job listing, and a holoscreen materialized before her. The details were maddeningly vague, but the pay. Lyra let out a low whistle. That kind of money could set her up for life, assuming she survived whatever insanity awaited her. With a swipe of her hand, Lyra accepted the offer. Within seconds, a one-way ticket to Starbase Omega materialized in her neural link. As she made her way to the spaceport, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into something far bigger than she realized. The journey to Starbase Omega took 3 days in hyperspace. Lyra spent most of it in cryo-sleep, her dreams a confused jumble of past missions and imagined horrors awaiting her. When she finally stepped off the transport, the stark utilitarian design of the station was a sharp contrast to the sensory overload of New Shanghai. A holographic guide materialized before her. "Welcome to Starbase Omega, Captain Chen. Please proceed to Docking Bay 17 for your appointment." As Lyra made her way through the winding corridors, she noticed an unusually high number of heavily armed security drones patrolling the area. Whatever was going on here, someone was taking no chances. Docking Bay 17 turned out to be a massive hangar, easily large enough to house a small fleet. But instead of sleek military vessels or luxurious private yachts, Lyra found herself staring at what could only be described as a colossal space dumpster. The ship, if you could call it that, was a hodgepodge of mismatched hull plates, protruding antennae, and what looked suspiciously like repurposed mining equipment. "Ah, you must be the human," a cheerful voice chirped from somewhere near her knees. Lyra looked down to see what appeared to be a sentient fern waving its fronds at her excitedly. "I'm Xylophilus, but you can call me Xylo. I'm the recruiter for this little venture of ours." Lyra blinked, her cybernetic eye whirring as it attempted to make sense of the creature before her. Pleasure to meet you, Xylo. I'm Captain Lyra Chen. Mind telling me what exactly I've signed up for?" The fern-like alien bobbed in what Lyra assumed was a nod. Of course. But first, tell me, Captain, how do you feel about garbage?" "Garbage?" Lyra repeated, convinced she must have misheard. "Yes, garbage," Xylo exclaimed, his fronds quivering with excitement. "You see, the galaxy has a bit of a waste management problem. Actually, that's putting it mildly. We're on the brink of a garbage-induced apocalypse." Lyra's expression must have betrayed her skepticism because Xylo quickly added, "I know it sounds absurd, but hear me out. For millennia, advanced civilizations have been dumping their waste in what they thought were empty, uninhabited systems. But it turns out some of that waste has evolved." "Evolved," Lyra echoed, a sense of unease growing in her gut. "Mutated might be a better word," Xylo admitted. "We're talking about radioactive sludge that's developed rudimentary intelligence, discarded AI cores that have gone rogue, even entire swarms of nanobots that are consuming everything in their path. And that's just the tip of the proverbial garbage berg." Lyra's mind raced, piecing together the implications. "So you need someone to clean up this mess." Silo's fronds drooped slightly. If only it were that simple. We need a team willing to dive into the most dangerous dumping grounds in the galaxy, neutralize the threats, and salvage what we can. Every major spacefaring race has tried and failed. The Zordlaxians melted into goo at the first sign of danger. The quantum hive mind of Rigel 7 went insane and tried to redecorate the ship with macaroni art. You humans, with your Deathworld constitutions and your baffling ability to thrive in the face of certain doom, are our last hope. Lyra found herself grinning despite the absurdity of the situation. So let me get this straight. You want to send a bunch of humans to fight sentient garbage in the deadliest corners of the galaxy? Precisely. Tylo beamed, his fronds perking up again. That's insane, Lyra said, shaking her head. Then, with a gleam in her eye that would have sent any sane being running for cover, she added, I'm in. When do we start? Silo's entire being seemed to vibrate with relief. Excellent. We'll begin assembling the rest of the crew immediately. But first, let me give you a tour of your new home. As they approached the ramshackle vessel, Lyra noticed the name painted on its side in what looked suspiciously like neon spray paint. GWM Scavenger. Below it, in smaller letters, Garbage Day is every day. Tylo waved a frond, and a boarding ramp extended from the ship with a groan that suggested it was held together more by hope than engineering. Welcome aboard the Galactic Waste Management Ship Scavenger, Captain Chen. It may not look like much, but I assure you, it's equipped with the latest in waste management technology, some of which we're still figuring out how to use, if I'm being honest. As Lyra stepped into the ship that would be her home for the foreseeable future, she couldn't help but wonder what she'd gotten herself into. But beneath the apprehension, there was a familiar thrill, the same one she'd felt before every dangerous mission with the Special Forces. The galaxy's garbage problem had no idea what was coming for it. The crew. Over the next week, Lyra watched as a motley assortment of humans arrived at Starbase Omega. Each had been handpicked for their unique skills, and more importantly, their willingness to tackle what was quite possibly the most insane job posting in galactic history. The ship's mess hall, a room that looked like it had been cobbled together from at least 3 different alien cafeterias, served as their makeshift briefing room. Lyra stood at the front, her cybernetic eye scanning the assembled crew. All right, listen up, she began, her voice cutting through the excited chatter. I know you're all wondering what exactly you've signed up for. Well, I'm here to tell you it's even crazier than you think. A ripple of laughter went through the group. Lyra allowed herself a small smile before continuing. We're not just waste management. We're the last line of defense between the galaxy and total annihilation by garbage. She went on to explain the situation, watching as expressions of disbelief turned to excitement, and in some cases, outright glee. When she finished, a hand shot up from the back of the room. Yes, Dr. Ramirez. Dr. Elena Ramirez, a brilliant xenobiologist with a shock of blue hair and more degrees than most people had fingers, leaned forward eagerly. Just to clarify, Captain, when you say evolved garbage, are we talking simple mutation or full-on sentience? Because if it's the latter, I have some theories about accelerated evolution in high radiation environments that I've been dying to test. Lyra blinked. Both actually. And Dr. Ramirez, maybe try not to sound quite so excited about potentially lethal trash monsters. Next to Elena, a mountain of a man with arms like tree trunks and a head as smooth and shiny as a chrome hubcap chuckled. Let the doc have her fun, Cap. Sides, if these garbage critters do turn out to be trouble, I reckon I can handle them. This was Sergei Tank Volkov, former Zero construction worker, and the team's heavy lifter. Lyra had seen him bench press a small shuttle during their training exercises. Just remember, Tank, Lyra cautioned, we're here to clean up, not make more of a mess. Try not to punch any black holes this time. Tank had the good grace to look sheepish. That was one time, Cap. And in my defense, that singularity had it coming. From the corner came a snort of laughter. Lyra turned to see Zara Noor, the team's tech expert and resident cyborg. Her right arm, a marvel of biomechanical engineering that could interface with virtually any system in the galaxy. "Don't worry, Captain," Zara said with a wink of her glowing cybernetic eye. "I'll make sure our big lug here doesn't accidentally tear a hole in space-time." Again. Lyra nodded gratefully. "Appreciate it, Zara. Now let's talk about our first mission." She activated a holographic display in the center of the room, showing a swirling mass of debris. This is what's left of the Zeta Reticuli system. Once a thriving hub of commerce, now a cosmic dumping ground. Our job is to go in, assess the situation, neutralize any immediate threats, and start the cleanup process. The room fell silent as the crew took in the enormity of the task before them. Then, from the back of the room, a voice piped up. "Dibs on the first mutant space squid." This came from Charlie Glitch Martinez, a former hacker with a particular knack for cracking rogue AI systems. His grin was infectious, and soon the whole room was buzzing with excited chatter about what they might encounter. Lyra let it go on for a moment before raising her hand for silence. "I know this all sounds exciting, but remember, we're dealing with real dangers here. This isn't a game or a VR sim. We'll be facing things most species in the galaxy wouldn't dare to approach." She paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "But that's why we're here. Because we're human. Because we come from a world that should have killed us 1,000 times over, but instead made us stronger. The galaxy thinks we're crazy for taking on this job. Let's prove them right. And show them that sometimes it takes a little crazy to get the job done." A cheer went up from the assembled crew. Lyra couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. They were an odd bunch, no doubt about it. But they were her odd bunch. As the briefing wound down, and the crew dispersed to make final preparations, Tylo approached Lyra, his fronds waving in what she had come to recognize as nervous excitement. "Well, Captain," the plant-like alien said, "what do you think of your team?" Lyra watched as Tank attempted to arm wrestle one of the ship's robotic loading arms, while Velina excitedly explained her latest theory on garbage evolution to a increasingly bewildered Zara. In the corner, Glitch appeared to be trying to teach one of the ship's AI systems to play poker. "They're insane," Lyra said finally. Then, with a grin that would have sent most sensible beings running for cover, she added, "They're perfect." Xylo's fronds quivered with relief. "I'm glad you think so. Because, well, there's something I may have forgotten to mention about your first mission." Lyra's cybernetic eye whirred as she fixed the alien with a steely gaze. "What kind of something, Xylo?" "Oh, nothing too concerning," Xylo said, in a tone that suggested it was very concerning indeed. "It's just that, well, the Zeta Reticuli system. It may have developed a bit of a space-time hiccup." "A space-time hiccup," Lyra repeated flatly. "Yes, you see, all that garbage has caused some rather unusual quantum effects. Time doesn't quite flow properly there anymore. You might experience some temporal anomalies. Nothing too drastic, probably." Lyra pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling the beginnings of a headache. "Xylo, when you say temporal anomalies—" "Oh, you know, the usual," Xylo said, waving a frond dismissively. "Time running backwards, future echoes, the occasional dinosaur. Nothing a team of capable Deathworlders can't handle, I'm sure." For a moment, Lyra seriously considered whether it was too late to back out of this insane mission. Then she looked at her crew again. This group of brilliant misfits who had volunteered for what was quite possibly the most dangerous job in the universe, and she knew there was no backing out now. "Right," she said, straightening her shoulders. "Temporal anomalies, evolved garbage, and possible dinosaurs. Just another day at the office for us Deathworlders. Right." Silo's entire being seemed to light up. "That's the spirit, Captain. I knew we chose the right species for this job." As Lyra walked away to brief her team on this latest development, She couldn't help but mutter under her breath. The galaxy had better appreciate this. Deathworlders to the rescue, whether they like it or not. The first mission. The GWM Scavenger lurched out of hyperspace with all the grace of a drunken elephant, its mismatched hull plates groaning in protest. Before them lay the Zeta Reticuli system, or what was left of it, where once planets had orbited serenely. Now there was only chaos, a swirling maelstrom of debris, toxic waste, and things that defied description. Lyra stood on the bridge, her cybernetic eye whirring as it tried to make sense of the scene before them. All right, team, this is it. Remember your training, stick to the plan, and for the love of all that's holy, don't touch anything without scanning it first. Aw, you're no fun, Cap. Tank's voice rumbled over the comms. He was down in the cargo bay, suited up in what looked like a cross between a hazmat suit and a small mech. I was hoping to bring back a souvenir. The only souvenir you'll be bringing back is your own hide in one piece, Lyra retorted. Zara, what's our status? The cyborg's fingers danced over her console, her cybernetic eye glowing as she interfaced directly with the ship's systems. Shields are holding, but these radiation levels are off the charts. We've got about 3 hours before we need to pull out or risk becoming part of the problem. Noted, Lyra said. Dr. Ramirez, what are we looking at out there? Elena's excited voice crackled over the comms. It's fascinating, Captain. I'm picking up signs of accelerated evolution, quantum entanglement. And, oh my, is that a Tyrannosaurus Rex floating by? Lyra blinked. I'm sorry, did you say a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Oh yes, Elena replied, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. Remember those temporal anomalies Tylo mentioned? Well, it seems they're in full effect. We've got prehistoric creatures, futuristic tech, and everything in between swirling around out there. It's a veritable smorgasbord of temporal displacement. Lyra pinched the bridge of her nose. Right, because of course there are dinosaurs. Glitch, how are we looking on the AI front? It's a mess out there, Cap. Glitch reported. I'm picking up signals from at least a dozen rogue AI systems. Most of them seem pretty primitive, but there's one that's giving me the creeps. It keeps broadcasting the same message over and over. What message? I think, therefore I am trash, Glitch quoted. I think we might be dealing with a philosophically inclined garbage compactor. Lyra took a deep breath. Okay, people, let's focus on our primary objective. We need to stabilize this system before it tears itself apart and takes half the sector with it. Zara, can you get a lock on the source of these temporal anomalies? Working on it, Cap, Zara replied. There's a lot of interference, but I'm picking up a massive energy signature about 500 clicks to our starboard. It could be our culprit. Good work. Tank, you and Elena suit up. We're going to take a closer look at. Lyra's order was cut short as the ship suddenly lurched, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. What the hell was that? Lyra demanded, grabbing onto her console to stay upright. We've been snagged, Zara shouted. Some kind of energy tendril. It's pulling us in. Through the view screen, Lyra watched in horror as a massive pulsating mass of what looked like living garbage reached out for their ship. Bits of metal, plastic, and unidentifiable alien material swirled around a core of sickly green energy. Full reverse thrusters, Lyra ordered. Glitch, see if you can communicate with that thing. The ship's engines roared to life, but the pull of the garbage entity was too strong. They were being dragged inexorably towards its maw. Cap, I got a signal, Glitch shouted. It's singing. I think it's singing Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. Oh hell, Lyra muttered. It's gone full AHL 9000 on us. Elena, any ideas? The xenobiologist's voice came back, tinged with both fear and excitement. If it's evolved from trash, maybe we can confuse it with conflicting information. Glitch, try overloading it with contradictory data. On it. Glitch's fingers flew over his console, sending it the complete works of Shakespeare. the collected speeches of politicians from the last century, and every paradox I can think of. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, abruptly, the energy tendril holding them flickered and wavered. "It's working," Zora shouted. "The pull is weakening." Lyra saw their chance. "Tank, now. Hit it with the grappling harpoon." With a whoop of glee, Tank fired the ship's improvised weapon, a massive harpoon designed to pierce through the toughest space debris. It shot out, trailing a cable behind it, and embedded itself deep in the core of the garbage entity. "Gotcha, you overgrown trash heap," Tank crowed. "Zara, full power to the winch," Lyra ordered. "Let's reel this bastard in." The ship groaned and creaked as the winch engaged, slowly but surely pulling the massive garbage entity towards them. As it neared, Lyra could see it more clearly, a roiling mass of discarded tech, alien artifacts, and things she couldn't even begin to identify. "Elena, what do you make of this thing?" Lyra asked. "It's incredible." Elena's voice was filled with wonder. "It seems to be a conglomeration of waste that's achieved a sort of hive mind. The temporal anomalies must have accelerated its evolution. If we could study it." Later, Lyra cut her off. "Right now, we need to neutralize it before it tears us apart. Any ideas?" There was a moment of silence. Then Glitch spoke up. "Cap, what if we give it what it wants?" "What do you mean?" "Well, it's trash, right? So let's treat it like trash. Tank, can you compact that thing?" Tank's laughter boomed over the comms. "Oh hell yes, I thought you'd never ask." As the entity was pulled alongside the ship, Tank engaged the scavenger's massive compactor arms. With a series of hydraulic hisses and clanks, the arms closed around the writhing mass of garbage. "Come on, you beautiful hunk of junk," Tank muttered. "Time for a little spring cleaning." The ship shuddered as Tank applied more and more pressure. For a moment, it seemed like the garbage entity might break free. Then, with a sound like 1,000 tin cans being crushed at once, it collapsed in on itself. Where once there had been a chaotic mass of debris, there now floated a neatly compacted cube of X-garbage. "Hot Dan," Glitch whistled. "Remind me never to arm wrestle Tank." Lyra let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Good work, everyone." "Zara, how are we looking?" "The temporal anomalies are stabilizing, Cap," Zara reported. "Whatever that thing was, it was the source of the disturbances. With it neutralized, the system is starting to settle." "Excellent," Lyra nodded. "Let's collect our little souvenir and get out of here before." Her words were cut off as a massive shadow fell over the ship. Lyra looked up to see an enormous serpentine shape silhouetted against the stars. Elena," Lyra asked, her voice unnaturally calm. "Is that what I think it is?" "If you think it's a perfectly preserved living specimen of Titanoboa, the largest snake to ever exist on Earth, then yes, Captain," Elena replied, her voice a mix of terror and scientific ecstasy. "It is exactly what you think it is." As the gigantic snake turned its attention towards the scavenger, Lyra had only one thought. "I really should have read the fine print on that job contract." The conspiracy. The GWN scavenger limped back to Starbase Omega, its hull scared and dented from their encounter with the space-time warping garbage entity and the subsequent tangle with a temporally displaced Titanoboa. As they docked, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this mission than Silo had let on. "All right, team," she addressed her crew as they gathered in the mess hall. "Good work out there. We neutralized a major threat and gathered valuable data. But something doesn't add up." Zara nodded, her cybernetic eye glowing faintly. "I've been analyzing the composition of that garbage entity, Cap. Some of the tech in there, it's way beyond anything that should have been dumped as trash. We're talking cutting-edge prototype stuff. Not to mention the temporal displacement tech," Glitch added. "That's not something you just throw away. Someone's been using that system as more than just a dumping ground." Lyra's expression hardened. My thoughts exactly. We need to dig deeper. Elena, what did you find out about our snake friend? The xenobiologist's eyes lit up. Oh, it was fascinating. The Titanovo showed signs of genetic modification. Someone's been playing around with prehistoric DNA out there. But here's the kicker. I found traces of a very specific isotope in its system. One that's only produced by Galactic Dynamics Corporation. A tense silence fell over the room. Galactic Dynamics was one of the largest megacorporations in the galaxy, with tendrils in everything from energy production to terraforming. They also had a reputation for being ruthless and not particularly concerned with ethical niceties. So, Tank rumbled, cracking his knuckles. We gonna go knock on their door and ask some questions. Lyra shook her head. Not yet. We need more evidence. Glitch, I want you to dive into the data we collected. See if you can trace any of that prototype tech back to its source. Zara, work with Elena to analyze that isotope. I want to know everything about where it came from and how it ended up in our oversized friend. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Lyra made her way to the communication room. She had some questions for Xylo. But when she activated the secure channel, it wasn't the cheerful plant-like alien who appeared on the screen. Instead, she found herself face-to-face with a stern-looking Thoraxian, a species known for their rigid adherence to bureaucracy. Captain Chen, the alien intoned, its multiple mouths moving in unsettling synchronization. I am Supervisor Klaxnor of the Galactic Waste Management Oversight Committee. I'm calling to inform you that your contract has been terminated, effective immediately. You and your crew are to report to Starbase Omega for debriefing and memory wipe. Lyra's cybernetic eye whirred as she processed this information. I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable. We've uncovered evidence of illegal activities in the Zeta Reticuli system. Where's Xylo? The Thoraxian's expression didn't change. Xylophilas has been reassigned. This matter is closed, Captain. Report for debriefing or face charges of breach of contract. The screen went dark before Lyra could respond. She stood there for a moment, her mind racing. Then she hit the ship-wide comm. All hands, battle stations. We've got company. Within minutes, the crew had assembled on the bridge. Lyra quickly filled them in on the situation. So, what's the plan, Cap? Glitch asked, his fingers already dancing over his console, no doubt preparing to hack into Starbase Omega systems. Lyra's expression was grim. We're not going down without a fight. Whatever's going on here, it's big enough that they want to wipe our memories. That means we're onto something. Zara, can you get us out of here without them noticing? The cyborg nodded. I can mask our engine signature, make us look like space debris, but we'll need a diversion. Leave that to me, Tank grinned, cracking his knuckles. I've been wanting to test out those new explosives we picked up in the Andromeda black market. Just try not to blow up the entire station, Lyra cautioned. Elena, what have you got on Galactic Dynamics? The xenobiologist pulled up a holographic display. They have a research facility in the Epsilon Eridani system. If they're behind the modified creatures and the prototype tech, that's likely where we'll find answers. Lyra nodded. All right, here's the plan. Tank, create your diversion. Zara, as soon as we have an opening, get us out of here. Glitch, I need you to scrub our ident codes from every database in the sector. As far as the galaxy is concerned, the GWM scavenger never existed. As her crews sprang into action, Lyra couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and apprehension. They were about to go rogue, to take on one of the most powerful corporations in the galaxy with nothing but a patchwork ship and a crew of misfit humans. But as alarms began to blare across Starbase Omega and Tank's diversion, lit up the space around them like a miniature supernova, Lyra allowed herself a grim smile. They might be outgunned and outnumbered, but they were humans. Deathworlders who thrived on impossible odds. All right, scavengers, she said as Zara expertly piloted them away from the chaos. Let's go take out the trash. The GWM scavenger disappeared into the void of space, leaving behind a thoroughly confused Starbase Omega and a very angry Thoraxian supervisor. As they set course for the Epsilon Eridani system, Lyra knew they were diving headfirst into danger. But then again, that's what humans did best. The final showdown. The Epsilon Eridani system loomed before them, a glittering expanse of stars and planets that belied the danger lurking within. At its heart sat the massive research facility of Galactic Dynamics Corporation, a sprawling complex of interconnected stations and shipyards that looked more like a small moon than a corporate headquarters. Quite the setup they've got there, Glitch whistled, his fingers flying over his console as he worked to bypass the facility's formidable security systems. I'm detecting multiple layers of shields, automated defense systems, and enough firepower to take out a small fleet. Lyra nodded grimly. They're certainly not taking any chances. Zara, what's our status? The cyborg's cybernetic eye glowed as she interfaced with the ship's systems. We're holding steady just outside their long-range sensors. The cloaking device is working, but I don't know how long it'll hold once we get closer. It'll have to do, Lyra said. Elena, what have you found out about their research? The xenobiologist pulled up a holographic display, her eyes wide with a mix of horror and fascination. It's worse than we thought, Captain. They're not just dumping waste, they're weaponizing it. The garbage entities, the temporally displaced creatures, they're all part of some sort of bioweapon program. A tense silence fell over the bridge as the implication sank in. Finally, Tank broke it with a low growl. So what's the plan, Cap? We going in guns blazing or what? Lyra shook her head. As satisfying as that would be, we need to be smarter about this. We're one ship against an entire corporate army. Glitch, can you get us inside their systems? The hacker grinned. Already on it, Cap. I found a backdoor through their waste management subroutines. Ironic, huh? Give me 5 minutes, and I'll have control of their internal security. Good work, Lyra nodded. Zara, plot us a course that'll keep us in the sensor shadows of the surrounding debris. We're going in. As the scavenger crept closer to the massive facility, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that they were flying into the maw of a beast, but they had come too far to turn back now. I'm in, Glitch announced triumphantly. You're not going to believe this, Cap. They'd got files on every illegal dumping operation in the sector, complete with blackmail material on half the Galactic Council. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Download everything. We're going to blow this wide open. But before Glitch could respond, alarms blared across the ship. Zara's hands flew across her console. We've been spotted. Multiple hostiles incoming. So much for the subtle approach, Lyra muttered. Battle stations, everyone. Tank, you're up. The massive human whooped with glee as he manned the weapon systems. Time to take out the trash. The space around them erupted into chaos as Galactic Dynamics ships swarmed towards them. But the scavenger, for all its patchwork appearance, was no easy prey. Tank's precision shooting, combined with Zora's expert piloting, kept them one step ahead of their pursuers. Glitch, how's that download coming? Lyra called out as the ship shuddered from a near miss. Almost there, the hacker shouted back. Just need another minute. We might not have a minute, Elena warned, her eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. They're powering up something big in the main facility, some kind of energy weapon I've never seen before. Lyra's mind raced. They were so close, but one hit from that weapon could vaporize them instantly. Then an idea struck her. Zara, get us closer to that main weapon. Tank, on my mark, I want you to fire everything we've got at its power core. Cap, that's suicide. Zora protested. Trust me, Lyra said, her cybernetic eye whirring as it calculated trajectories. Glitch, status on that download. Done, he shouted triumphantly. I've got everything. Good. Broadcast it. All channels. Wideband. Let the whole galaxy see what these bastards have been up to. As Glitch complied, the scavenger dove towards the heart of the Galactic Dynamics facility. The massive energy weapon loomed before them, crackling with power. "Now, Tank," Lyra ordered. With a roar of defiance, Tank unleashed every weapon the scavenger had. Missiles, energy beams, and even a few pieces of compressed space garbage hurtled towards the weapon's core. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, with a blinding flash, the core of the weapon overloaded. The explosion rippled outward, consuming the main facility and sending shockwaves through space. "Zara, get us out of here," Lyra shouted. The cyborg's hands blurred over the controls, pushing the scavenger to its limits as they raced to outrun the expanding fireball. The ship groaned and creaked, systems failing left and right as they pushed it beyond its design specs. Just when it seemed they couldn't possibly escape, they burst free of the explosion's reach, tumbling into open space. For a long moment, nobody spoke. They all stared at the view screen, watching as the Galactic Dynamics facility collapsed in on itself, taking with it years of illegal operations and twisted experiments. Finally, Glitch broke the silence. Guys, you might want to see this." He pulled up a galactic news feed. Their broadcast had worked. Across the galaxy, beings of all species were watching in shock as the truth about galactic dynamics was revealed. Calls for investigations and arrests were already pouring in. Lyra leaned back in her chair, a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction washing over her. "Well, scavengers," she said, looking around at her battered but unbroken crew, "I'd say we just took out the biggest piece of trash in the galaxy." Elena grinned. "So, does this mean we're out of a job?" Lyra chuckled. "Somehow, I doubt that. Something tells me the galaxy's going to need a lot of cleaning up after this." As if on cue, the ship's communication system crackled to life. A familiar voice came through. Tylo, sounding both relieved and excited. "Captain Chen, thank the cosmic composter you're alive. I've just been reinstated, and let me tell you, we've got our work cut out for us. How do you feel about cleaning up a black hole that's developed a taste for bad poetry?" The crew burst into laughter, the tension of their ordeal finally breaking. As Lyra listened to Silo ramble on about their next impossible mission, she couldn't help but smile. They were humans, after all, Deathworlders who turned the impossible into just another day at the office. "All right, scavengers," she said, her eyes gleaming with the promise of new adventures. "Let's go see what other messes the galaxy has for us to clean up." And with that, the GWM scavenger, battered but unbroken, set off into the stars, ready to take on whatever challenges the universe could throw at them. Because when it came to tackling the dirtiest, most dangerous jobs in the galaxy, there was no one better than a crew of crazy, determined humans. The galaxy's garbage problem didn't stand a chance.